And part of PETCO's story is really just being more of who they are as a company. So many people see PETCO as a big box retailer, and really their ethos are at the core of a company that cares about the health and well-being of pets. And so showcasing that and certainly raising over $60 million in a little over 10 years is a major feat. So next rule, truth trumps positioning, and being just the core of who Hank is and the opportunity that I've had to get to know him. And he's really the truth seeker and the truth bringer at Edelman for a number of different companies, and embedded in Starbucks being one of the most important ones. And Starbucks is interesting because over the course of the years and with the LOHAS customer, they've taken some dips and turns, and certainly as they were starting to pop up on every corner of every street, the LOHAS audience was being concerned about the local coffee shop and different people. And so, you know, they have some cup issues, and really how Hank helped Starbucks take those issues head on, I think, is really interesting. And so I'll take it over to you for rule number 5. We have 5?
I think so. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm going to be very random because I know we're running out of time, but I want to start off with what you were saying. 2 years ago, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the infamous Howard Schultz memo. Anybody? Yeah. 2 years ago, that was an eye-opener for Starbucks because they were at every store. At every corner there was a Starbucks, and it lost its soul. They really questioned its soul, not the people internally. And that's the interesting thing of the Howard memo. It actually came from inside. We were talking about it, Amy and myself were talking about it last night, and we were talking about it earlier as well. What drives you nuts about Starbucks is that they like working for Oxfam, and like working for CI. It's the same way you are, as they are so values-based. Each person believes so much that the values is important, that it was a shocker for them to realize that they weren't living those values through the company anymore. So that memo of Howard was an eye-opener for the company to go, hang on, let's go back to our roots. Why are we doing this? We don't, if you want to sell coffee, there's easier ways to sell coffee than the Starbucks way. All that certification and paying farmers more than average, there's better ways to run a company if you just want to sell coffee. That's not what they wanted. It was about the experience with the customer. So from that on, the last 2 years has been a real transformation. I'm just lucky and blessed that they asked me 6 months ago and said, can you be embedded? And Starbucks calls me, I'm the inbred, So, because I used to campaign against them, now I'm working with them, so I create my own jobs. But being inside is quite interesting, bringing to life what it means for the company, especially in the age that we live today. It is not 1999, the Battle of Seattle anymore. Those battles are taking place each and every day online, through a million of voices instead of one location. So how do you engage? How do you actually go out and engage with it? The first thing for Howard and the whole Starbucks team, just tell people the truth. For so many years, I'm going to see if I have it somewhere. Can I go back on this thing? Yes, I can, because I want to see if I can find one specific slide. This. For so many years, Starbucks has always tried to talk about this stuff. How their impact on water and agriculture, emissions, and all those kind of things. And that's great for us, crowd. We love it. We're the wonks. We go, yeah, give me that CSR report. I love it. Really? Who reads a CSR report? Who's interested in that? I've read one in my whole life. And I'm supposed to be a wonk. What the customer wanted to talk about is this. They want to know about, hey, here's my cup. What are you doing about it? Because every time I drink your coffee, I throw the cup in the dustbin. That's my guilt. Don't talk about this, where's your big impact, if we're really talking about co-responsibility, about having a relationship with your customer. This is your responsibility, because this is where you jointly have the responsibility with your customer. Because if you want to talk about this, why aren't you talking to them about where their impact is? Nobody wants to hear the customer talk about I want a Prius Starbucks, really? Why should Starbucks be interested in a Prius if they want to talk about this? So meeting people where that co-responsibility is key. Yes, we need to have the foundation in place. Make sure that you do the stuff right. Be open and brutally honest. But if you can't deal with that, then you're not dealing with it. So where does this come in with the truth? For years, Starbucks has tried to create a cup made from better material, everything great, and they failed. Yes, there's 10% post-consumer in there. That's way better than anyone else. That's the other thing that, both companies and Starbucks, that's different. Starbucks do not compare themselves to anyone else. Just because they have, when it comes to their competitors, the best cup is not good enough for Starbucks because they don't compare themselves to their competitor. They compare themselves to the values and what they stand for. So that's a big challenge for them. Then, does that cup represent what we stand for? No. And they for years tried, sorry.
One of the things with Starbucks, this made me crazy. I get the New York Times, and there was the New York Times always comes wrapped in a plastic bag, and like 3 weeks ago, it was Starbucks with this plastic bag around the New York Times with Starbucks all over it, and they were doing a sampling of their new coffee,
Via.
the instant coffee. And that to me was so antithetical to everything that Starbucks is. Like, how does that get through the marketing of Starbucks?
Before I answer that, I just want to go this, and then that's important because this gets to something we discussed earlier. So what Starbucks started doing, because they couldn't get the answer for this, they spent millions of dollars trying to find the answer for this. They went, okay, you know what, people, we don't know. The honest truth is, we don't know. So they organized a cup summit. Everyone that ever complained about the cup, please come, we'll pay for you to come in, get into a room and tell us what should we do. Because everyone have these great ideas, and every time we try something, but it was an eye-opener for Starbucks because what they realized, they looked at it from a wrong angle from the start. Just looking at the cup itself doesn't help. This cup is recyclable. Now, Starbucks will never say that. But this cup, you can recycle.
How?
If you're in Seattle or if you're in New York. But if you...
What if it has oil-based polymer?
No. That cup, what Starbucks did was they ran the test in New York through the whole value chain of recycling that can go into carton. That cup can be recycled. The problem is you can do it in Seattle, New York, but if I go across the line into Bellevue, you can't do it. That was what we always believed, that it's not. That's why they ran the test. If you go to the Starbucks website, we can show you all the research that was done to get that recyclable. Now, not the lid, but the cup itself. Because we believed for so long that you can't recycle it until we actually got the mayor of New York involved and the whole value chain of recycling and went through the whole system. So now we can roll it out.
Did anybody suggest ceramic cups to stay?
Yes, and that was the other part. So when they looked at just in the cup, they go, well, in actual fact, you know that you can ask for a ceramic cup when you drink it there. Or you can bring your own cup, your tumbler. You actually get a discount. That's where the problem then comes in with, well, why aren't you doing it? Too many stores. And when you start focusing on only rolling out stores, that's what part of the how it's member was. Bring it back to who you are. Just because you give people a discount on a tumbler, you actually still have to remind people to bring that in. So starting with this a year and a half ago, getting the cup through the Cup Summit and getting everyone together, it ended up around Earth Day, not Earth Day itself, but around Earth Day. We didn't want to spoil your kid's birthday. So we decided not to target Earth Day, but where people could bring in their tumbler and get a free coffee. As a reminder that, please, really, we set a goal by 2015. We want people to use their tumblers or ceramic mug. So the new designs of the stores, they're bringing more ceramic mugs in as well. Doesn't mean that we've answered the cup challenge yet, but by being blatantly honest about where's the limitations and getting all the partners in, we're getting a little bit closer because we don't have the answers. I just want to answer her question about veering. The interesting thing about Starbucks, and I think you experience that as well, is that when you look at the brand of Starbucks, it feels like it is a Walmart. It's this huge company because it has all the stores. How much coffee do you think Starbucks buy? Of all the coffee in the world, do you think it's the biggest coffee company in the world? No. Nestle, way bigger. Kraft, way bigger. 3% of the coffee they buy. The brand, part of the challenge for Starbucks, the brand is actually bigger than the company. So when you think of Starbucks, you think of, here's a $200 billion company, and they can just do what they want. No, they're not. The brand is so huge, but there are limitations in how they can do it. So inefficiencies is part of every company, right? I mean, and not you two, of course. But that's part of the problem. I mean, we have there's two other things that stood out here. It wasn't only the cup. Water running in the store the whole time. Really? I mean, how environmentally friendly is that to have water running in the store? No one thought about it until a customer said, I don't like that. And then they had to find a mechanism to solve that. Same with Veer. Veer, great, the coffee is ethically sourced and you name it. But the packaging, not very environmentally friendly. Starbucks doesn't have the answer. Now that's not what Starbucks is trying to do. And that's what the truth comes in, is to say, this is what we know, this is what we can do, and this is how far we can push it. But not everything every company does is necessarily going to be environmentally friendly or green. Let's be realistic about what we can do and where we can lead and where we know, you know what, we should do better. And we shouldn't allow so many things to slip through. Sorry, you were asking?
Yeah, I actually wrote a blog this year on Huffington Post and my website, elephantjournal.com, about titled 10 Reasons It's Getting Harder to Hate Starbucks. It's the kind of company I really want to love, and in many ways I do respect it, but for example, the 4 here cup thing really isn't obvious, and most people don't even think you can get 4 here. Why? That would seem to be very affordable. Why don't you make that more of a push?
As you know, almost all the Starbucks stores and the new stores, especially the new stores, will be LEED certified. All the stores are slowly but surely getting redesigned. Part of what happened with Starbucks taking its eye off the ball of what it should be, it became the stores aren't there for people to really sit down anymore. Too many stores where it's just, give me my cup and there I go. So that's why part of the redesign is going into that. But you also need to retrain your staff. It's too natural when there's a queue of 20 people to go, you know, there's your cup, let you go. There was also this belief that it's actually easier and quicker to get people that cup, until we actually ran tests. You know what's the fastest way to get people theirs? The tumbler. When we ran the test through the whole system, it wasn't that cup. This was on par with the normal ceramic cup. You know, when we ran the whole test of how much time it wastes, etc., the tumbler was actually the most efficient. But because there's so many assumptions, the same with this isn't recyclable, that's an assumption until we actually sat down and we go, really? Who said that and why isn't it? Sorry.
But why did they double the cup?
Double the cup?
They put 2 cups together.
Laziness. When you run out of the sleeve, they put that in. Partly because we live in a world where lawyers tell us you're going to be sued for everything, and if you burn your hands, that's one of the realities. I mean, we all know about McDonald's. That was before I was in the US. The person that got sued by McDonald's. So that's part of the reason. And you have to continuously educate. Starbucks got the lowest turnover of staff in the industry, but still, you have to continuously retrain your staff and tell them those kind of things.
Great.